This is the Big Sci-Fi Podcast, the biggest, most fun podcast in the galaxy. We're Adina, Brian, Chris, and Steve, and we love talking all things science fiction. This is Season 4, but our human adventure is just beginning as we gather around our computer consoles to discuss the science fiction of film, television, and literature. Join us on our quest for fun and fascination as we go where no podcast has gone before. Everyone has permission to come aboard the Big Sci-Fi Podcast, but make sure to find your seat fast because we're taking off in 3, 2, 1, hit it. This podcast is a part of the Trek Geeks Network. Welcome to Season 4 of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast. My name is Brian Donahue, and I'm here with Adina, Chris, and Steve. Before we jump into our conversation, I'd like to mention that this podcast is now a part of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. Woo woo! And we are pretty excited about it because you are going to find us in more places than ever. And that's a fantastic thing. Hop on over to trekgeeks.com to learn more about us and the other great podcasts on the network. Tonight, though, the crew of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast has gathered together to talk about one of the greatest single seasons in all of television history, at least Star Trek history, I should probably say. But I think it's the other way around as well. Star Trek Picard, Season 3. It was fantastic. Mm-hmm. Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
Understatement of the year.
I'm suddenly hungry for Twix, too, with that sound. Let's go where no one has gone before and say hello to everyone here. From Maryland, it's Adina.
Hey, everybody.
Adina. From Canada, it's Chris.
Hello, everyone.
And from Los Angeles, it's Steve.
Whoa, dudes, what's happening?
And I'm Brian from Ohio. Guys, Star Trek Picard Season 3.
Oh my God, so good.
We have been waiting for this moment.
I don't mean to be contrary, but meh, it was okay.
Yeah, you are joking, right?
I am definitely
Oh my gosh.
joking. Someone had to say that.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my.
I can't tell you how many times I jumped out of my seat, pumped my fist in the air, yelled at the television, freaked my wife out, almost woke up the kids. I can't tell you how many times I cried, which I do that anyways in film and television, but I bawled my eyes out. It was exciting. Let's dive in. I've got an initial question, a couple questions, and I've got a total of 7 questions for us to go through. We'll see if we get through all of them, but these questions are designed, I hope, to help us talk about all the ins and outs of Star Trek Picard Season 3, and I'm sure there will be lots of tangents ahead, but also spoilers. So if for some reason you have not watched Season 3 of Star Trek Picard, For shame. You should turn this podcast off, but just pause it, though. Go watch the entire season and then come right back to whichever podcasting platform you use and unpause and enjoy the show because there are going to be spoilers galore.
It's only 10 episodes. Just take a day off of work.
Right.
Take a weekend day. You
Take
can
a
binge it in one
vacation
day. Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it. If you weren't sure, if you're on the fence, if you're thinking about it, just do it. It's worth it. You deserve it. You deserve it.
Yeah, right. And I want to say this too. If you were disappointed, because I know that we're Next Generation fans disappointed with seasons 1 and 2, everyone is calling this Season 8 of Star Trek The Next Generation. Even the great Mike and Denise Okuda, who were on our show towards the end of Season 3, said that as well.
Yeah.
So it is really fantastic. You're going to dig it on some level. So check it out. So question number 1 for us tonight, before even getting into what the show actually was in Season 3, what were your hopes for the third and final supposed season of Star Trek Picard? And let's allow Chris to go first tonight, shall we?
Excellent.
The newly engaged Chris Fox, by the way.
Oh, you get to say that. Did you say that to her? Did you say engage? And she went, what?
Oh my gosh.
I did not say it, but I definitely had a moment where I thought about we've engaged the Knight because her last name is Knight in my head, and I heard the Borg music, but like in a positive way. So, but this is a private thought. No one else needs to know about this. In fact, forget you heard it.
Okay. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, with the show, my hope was that it would feel like watching TNG in the present. The way when you watch Strange New Worlds, it feels like you're watching a show that had Star Trek not existed and they made the original series today, that's how it would have been. That's sort of what I was hoping with TNG, or rather season 3 of Picard.
Excellent. Mr. Steve.
I just wrote this line. My hope was that it was much better than seasons 1 or seasons 2 of Picard. It was. I like season 2 better than season 1, but this was like every episode was a joy. It really was.
Yes. And Adina.
I try not to hope for anything in TV or movies ahead of time. I really just want to enjoy what I'm going to get into. So I try not to, because if I get my hopes up, right, if I'm expecting too much, then I can be disappointed. Even for like the best things, the most anticipated things, I really try to go in with very low expectations. So I'm going to say I really didn't have many hopes going in, but I am one of those people who I did enjoy seasons 1 and 2 a lot. I really like them. There are certain moments and certain episodes in both those seasons that I thought were lovely, especially in season 1 when we first saw Riker and Troy.
Mm-hmm.
That felt like coming home. That's when it started to really feel like, some good stuff there. So I didn't have any particular hopes, but even though I generally like season 1 and 2, this was a whole new level.
And that's the thing about this is that with season 1 and season 2, there were episodes that just kind of dragged. The whole thing about Picard, his background in season 2, just kind of was a down drop in the excitement of that particular season. And even season 1, when they were spending so much time on the Borg background and then so on, it kind of dropped off. But there was nothing like that there. There was no like dip in the storyline, or there was no dip in the action. It was nonstop. It was, like you said, you could binge watch this. It would have been a 10-hour movie, and it would have been fantastic to sit through it.
Well paced 10-hour movie.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Terry Matalas has gotten a lot of kudos for this, well deserved kudos. But one of the interesting things, so I recently he did an interview with Gates McFadden on her podcast.
Okay.
And so the things I didn't know about him, I mean, I knew he was like a next generation geek, and such, like some of us are. But what I really didn't appreciate until I heard him talking to McFadden was, so he's like, it sounds like he's maybe 2 years younger than I am. So Next Generation was his Trek. So I feel like, so for season 3, they took one of us and,
exactly.
And put him in charge. He pretty much was responsible for the writing and direction of the season. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what it needed. So he, as one of us, gave us exactly what we wanted. And that's why it was so magical. It was not, so it's another level of, okay, yes, we're honoring the show, yada, yada. But it was this other level of, they put the Trekkie in charge, the right Trekkie in charge. And, and he wins Trekkie of the Year is my,
and not
my
just
statement.
Not just that. It was that they were respectful and recognized all the other series. From you got to see the Voyager at the museum, and you got the music from Voyager there, and then you had recognition of Deep Space Nine in there, and then throwing in when the Admiral has her speech and she says, with the beginnings from the NX-01 crew on their adventure, they recognized all the prior series with such respect. That's what made it really, even right down to while in the Dystrom facility, seeing the skeletal remains of James T. Kirk. That was like, you got to notice those things. That's detail that made it so good.
So good. Like I always want to bring up Cobra Kai whenever I talk about Picard, because I felt like Cobra Kai for Karate Kid did such a good job where it felt like classic Karate Kid in a modern day, but they did such a good job of having the classic characters come back, making them feel relevant while still working with a new generation. And that's what I wanted from season 1 and season 2, which I think season 2 did a lot better, but this felt like a modern day Star Trek, but somehow connecting the new characters to the old characters and having it seem believable and not just like, okay, well, we're just doing it because we have to. As you say, Adina, it's like we really had a fan who knew what he was talking about and also felt kind of bummed out about Nemesis. It was like, no, we got to fix that. And he did it perfectly.
Yeah, but it's more that he knew what he was talking about. He knew what we want, because he wants it too, right? He's the fan who wants to see. So he was able to kind of create that. What do we want? And he gave it, what do Trekkies want?
My whole hopes about season 3 was, since this was going to be just a 3-season show from the beginning, they made that very clear that this wasn't going to go on and on, that they were going to tell a story. My hopes for season 3 was just that we would get to see the old gang, like for real. We saw Data. There was some beautiful stuff with him in season 1, and we saw all kinds of Brent Spiner in season 1, 2, and 2.
And 2, yeah.
And I just wanted the gang back together. And I think Chris is right. This is the first time I've understood that Cobra Kai analogy fully of what you have said several times, Chris, is they did just a beautiful job of wrapping the gang in there and then having all the other newer characters into the mix. Those newer characters felt every bit a part of the gang. And it was fun to watch them, and I was rooting for them. And I don't want to get too far ahead because I've got a specific question I want to ask about some of the new characters. But who were you looking forward to seeing again in season 3? Now, it's the whole gang, but is there a particular next generation actor who you were like, I can't wait to see how they look, what they do with the character, how they are a part of the story? And we'll let Adina go first.
Well, I feel like it's in some ways a really easy answer. Just everyone, Worf and LaForge were the two that we hadn't seen yet, because we had seen Riker, we had seen Troy. Well, and of course, Dr. Crusher, from like the big, the first moment. So I guess I can't pick between them. I'm just happy that, the gang was back together.
Anybody else have? Does everybody agree, or is there someone?
No. I
think that's an easy answer.
Sorry, it was just too
okay.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
No.
I asked a specific question. Adina always does that, fellas.
I'm sorry.
We ask a specific question and then she doesn't answer it. She doesn't answer.
Well,
it's okay.
This is what I wrote down. Going in, it was seeing how the characters could reprise their characters after so many years. Yes. They were in some other prior seasons of episodes of Picard, but this was the entire band back together, plus some new characters, and they worked like a well-oiled machine. Even changes like Data, giving him new elements of emotion that were a joy to see him portray by Brett. But really, Worf looks so good.
Oh, so good.
With that with that white hair and white beard. He was like the Klingon Santa Claus who, could kick your butt.
Right.
I want to see that movie.
Yes.
Santa. We had bad Santa. Now you need Klingon Santa.
we got Klingon Santa. You have to hear The Night Before Christmas in the original Klingon. It's fantastic.
Of doubt. For me, it's hard because it was a toss-up between Worf and Geordi. I like Worf generally more than Geordi, but Geordi was up there. I'm going to say Geordi just because we got a lot of Worf in DS9, which obviously is, that was 20 years ago, but we still got a lot more than we got with Geordi. So I was just really curious to see what Geordi had been up to. And what I was really intrigued about with the trailer was that out of all the characters, Geordi did not seem pleased to see Picard. So I was like, I want to know what the conflict is. I want to know what's going on between the two of them.
Yeah.
Go
ahead, Chris.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was It's Geordi for me too, because Worf. I always loved Worf. Worf episodes on the Next Gen were some of my favorites. Always when he was featured, loved him on Deep Space Nine. But Geordi has always been one of my favorite characters, and to see I mean, they all look fantastic. But Geordi, LeVar Burton has the best, just on the verge of tearing up look in his eyes that he does. He does something that is magic on screen that portrays just the right amount of emotion. And as a dad, hearing him concerned about his daughters,
his real daughters,
was just tremendous. It was just tremendous. In his all of their performances were superb, and they gave them much more than they typically had on the Next Gen original run. I mean, there were some great episodes where you saw how good of actors they were, but this whole series, like Jonathan Frakes, his acting was superb.
He was wonderful
all the way through this.
Yes.
Gates McFadden, I mean, get out of town. So the scene between Dr. Crusher and Picard as they're talking about what the heck's going on. Do I have a son? Do I not have a son? Riveting, and up there on the level of you broke your little ships scene in First Contact, where he goes, but like just if this show doesn't win some freaking Emmys, not just for special effects or music or lighting, but if they don't win, at least get some acting nods, there's something wrong. The science fiction community needs to say, hey, you got to pay attention to us because we're making great stuff across the board.
Absolutely.
It's very possible that Amanda Plummer could win a supporting actress for her role in this, because she really was, and that's another thing.
Yeah, right. Okay, well,
and I'll say one. I just want to say one thing about Geordi.
Yeah,
I loved his contacts. They made his blue eyes sparkle. It was beautiful. Every time you looked at his eyes, and you could just see like a sparkle there. It was beautiful. Oh my god!
I like the contacts, but Dill did not. She was not a fan. She was like, I can't deal with him.
It's a little still, disorienting because, we're so used to 7 years of the visor and to see him with eyes. But I have a memory of, I don't know if it was an interview or convention that I saw him at a long time ago, where he talked about the most challenging thing about taking the role and playing Geordi was having the visor, because he said prior to that, he felt that one of his strengths as an actor was using his eyes. And I'm sure he's repeated this story a few times, but that always stuck with me. So ever since we've been seeing his eyes, like I feel like I noticed them that much more. And it's really cool. I mean, it's an awesome thing. He did a crazy awesome job.
One of the best scenes in Star Trek Insurrection is when he loses the visor and his eyes are regenerating, and he goes to see that sunrise.
Yeah.
That's one of really the most beautiful and best scenes of that show. One of his best moments until Picard, the whole time he was on season 3.
Yeah.
So I too was sad to see the visor go, frankly, but I get it though too.
Yeah.
I get it though.
I mean, it was it was defining for his character. It was his defining prop for his character. So it was meaningful. But can I also actually bring up something, what you were saying about him being a dad, and, because again, one of the things that I think about with Trek, especially, when Next Generation came on, I was a teenager. So I was closer in age I was pretty much Wesley's age. And so I viewed the universe from that lens. Watching it now, when I rewatch Next Generation, I'm thinking like Dr. Crusher. I'm the mom. Yep. And in fact, I think I'm older right now than she was when she was playing the character, which is like a little freaky to me. But when I think about specifically Deanna's character, Riker's character, and Geordi, like they're now looking through the lens of their lives and whatever they're doing through as parents. Back then, it was like they were carefree, a little bit more, that I don't have kids yet, carefree life. And you can see like the weight of parenthood, like in their faces.
Except for Worf, who still is not talking about Alexander.
But
I'm
remember,
I'm shocked Chris didn't interrupt you, Adina.
Yeah, well, because we've talked about Worf and his lack of parenting skills and lack of desire to be a parent and all that stuff before. So that's not surprising. He's probably barely, it's quite possible that in the last 20 years, he already has a relationship with Alexander.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, don't say
I
that.
don't want to
I'm
believe
sorry.
that.
I'm sorry.
With Chris. I'm with Chris.
It's possible. It really is possible.
It is possible. It's also possible his passivity and his finding himself in deeper meaning that he, maybe listen, Star Trek Legacy, baby,
Yes.
Maybe that will be something that they could explore with Worf as a guesting, on that show, is bring Alexander into it and give us the story we have been waiting for. Because Chris and I cannot be the only ones that want to see Worf and his son reunited.
And Jeremy asked her, okay? Worf went out of his way to say, I will make you part of my house and I will look out for you forever. Never mentioned it again.
What do you want a Field of Dreams moment where he says, Alexander, hey, Dad, you want to go chop off some guys' heads? Sure, son, let's go.
That'd be nice. At least they're bonding. Maybe do something productive. Take out a couple of people that, maybe
that would be lovely.
That thing that he did with Jeremy Astor, which was really cool and all. And again, it was a nice moment. It was really cool. He was not accepting the responsibility of being a parent to that child. That's kind of inviting you into my house. That is not the same thing. It's kind of more like being like a godfather, a godparent, It's not the same thing as taking on the role of, oh gosh, I'm now your dad and I'm going to be raising you.
But at least like a birthday card, a phone call, a mention.
Sure.
I got a subspace communicate from Jeremy Astor. He's doing really well.
Sure.
That would be interesting.
Calling up Alexander.
Sure. All right.
What's with Worf? You want to move on to the next question? I
just want to clarify. I did not bring it up.
Yes,
I just want
it's my fault.
Let that be noted for the log.
Right.
It's my fault, but Chris and I stand in solidarity on this issue. Okay. I just want that known. So question number 3, okay?
I like this one.
To Shaw or not to Shaw? What are your thoughts on Captain Shaw?
So that was such they did it so well where they manipulated our emotions. Like they made us hate him and then made us love him.
I loved him from the start, though. That initial scene where he's having dinner with Picard and Riker, and he's already started rudely before they get there, and he's talking to them with such disrespect and disdain, and like, you guys are old, and you broke all the rules, and I don't have to look up to you, and you're actually retired, so I don't even really have to salute you, or do what you say. That was a superb scene where they set everything up beautifully for everything to expand and grow off of that. It was great.
Yes. Now, again, you could love the fact that he was a jerk and it was executed in that moment and it was executed perfectly. I mean, like, you can still love the character, but acknowledge he. So when I say, we hated him, it's loved like that whole
you had fun hating. It was fun.
Yes.
All right.
It worked because they brought us along his journey so perfectly. It was
this is what I wrote. Ever met someone and right off the bat you disliked them? That was exactly what was expected of us from the get-go of Shaw. And as the season progressed and we got to know more about his character development, fans began to bemoan that he might have been killed. And is he dead? Well, that's for another series to determine. For now, he has become a beloved character at the end, as was expected. And I will say this. Someone put a meme from a crossover of The Mandalorian and Shaw, where they show Shaw's image, and there is Grogu in the robot going, no.
I saw that. That was so cute. That was so cute. Well, and that was actually the best, one of the best recent scenes in the recent Mandalorian season was Grogu and the little robot. If you aren't watching that too, you got to catch up on that also.
It's great stuff.
That's on my list.
But that's just an example of that. That one word of him saying no has become like a meme that is going to be around forever. And he's going to be at conventions and people are going to want to go up and be with him. And he's a great actor. a sign of if a actor can make you dislike his character, then he's done a great or
in
she's
the way
done a
you're
great
supposed
job.
to. Not
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, he was just so much fun. It was like anytime he was in a scene, it was just like I'm ready for it. And then when he got killed, it's like, well, what? We need more Shaw.
Dead.
Right?
What are they doing? I hope he's not. Like I really hope it's like, by the way, he beamed out shortly before that, and somehow nanoprobes were involved, and now he's back.
Decker and Ilea came and got him at the last second, and he's off gallivanting around the galaxy.
It's technically possible, and I like to think that there's enough of the Trek community would, even though it's a little bit forced, because they seem to imply he was really kind of dead.
Hello,
so
Star Trek 36 for Spock.
Well, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think the fan
Sean,
community would accept the liberty and no, he wasn't really dead, we saved him, I think we'd accept that and we'd be okay.
Neelix died and was brought back with nanoprobe, so I'm sure that could work, right?
Sure. There's a lot of ways to do
that.
Kirk was brought back from the dead from Star Trek.
Yeah. He could come back as a hologram.
Was that Star Trek The Return?
That was the JJ second one.
Yeah.
Into Darkness.
Oh, I'm thinking of the Shatner
where
book,
Kirk dies, and then they use the tribbles and
the Return. That book that Shatner wrote is actually way better than I ever expected it would be.
I haven't read it.
Actually, not that bad of a story. But I love Shaw. I think he was exactly what this season needed to, and it was just, he had the best one-liners too of the whole series. He hands down had the best one-liners throughout.
We can't say the full thing because of swearing, but anybody else want to throw some weird stuff at me? Like that line was hysterical. It's like it's so cool when the thing that I find so interesting about New Trek is now their language is becoming more modern. Whereas I felt like original TNG didn't feel like 90s language. It felt apart from it. Where now people are saying things like, oh yeah, that's a lot of weird stuff you're saying right now, and feels present day, but it seems to work well.
It's more normal. It is more everyday. Yeah. It's how people talk. And people have cursed in daily language for a long time, but it's
a long
now
time.
A little bit more acceptable to be shown on screen.
Thank you, cable.
Right, exactly.
And streaming,
Yes.
So Shaw was fantastic. What surprised you guys about this season? Was there anything in particular that just surprised you? And I'm going to go first, okay? Because I've let you guys all go first. Ro Laren.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Holy crap nuggets, Batman.
Yes.
Like that. Holy crap nuggets. What the heck did I just say?
That was definitely not on Batman.
No, you're right. I just but I don't know what the heck that was. I apologize to our listening audience for that. But Ro Laren showing up was phenomenally surprising and gripping and riveting. And I love that they brought that, because Preemptive Strike, one of the last episodes of season 7 of The Next Gen, is one of my all-time favorite Star Trek episodes. And I loved Ro Laren through the series, how they used her. And without Ro Laren, we don't have Deep Space Nine, frankly. We don't, And so that whole storyline with the Bajorans. So I thought that episode was phenomenal, extremely well played, enacted, and I was like, wow, okay. How did they keep all this stuff secret?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Because it's not the only surprise.
Right. Well, I think it shows the people that are working on the show how dedicated they were and how much they care that they were able to do it, because
even Rachel Garrett, the statue at the beginning
that was
that
a
gets
really
blown
cool.
up. That was a
Rachel
neat
Garrett.
That was kind of cool too. But what else? What other things? It could be guest stars. It could be whatever, storylines, whatever. What surprised you guys? Steve, you go first.
Okay, so what I wrote this was the relationship between Worf and Raffi.
Yes.
Okay. How she was portrayed at the beginning as like a failure and a drunk or whatever. And then we find out the two of them are working side by side, and he's her handler. That was just great. And
I'm laughing because Brian is pointing at himself because he
called it.
He called the Worf handler bit.
And then, we were left off from season 2 with something with Seven of Nine and Raffi, and that was gone and it was discarded, but that was okay. And unless you're a true TNG historian, some of the references, that were maybe for some people hard to follow, but it was still okay because they put in nuggets that were important for TNG. Like, as you said, that character, I didn't know her relationship with the crew until you kind of explained it to me. So there was something I didn't get, but it didn't affect my loving of the episode.
Yeah, it was still it was still riveting. It was still good storytelling.
Yep.
But again, as big fan of Enterprise, just to have the Admiral shout out about the NX-01 was really special.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Doug Drexler, I got to say that the fact that they chose the NX-01 refit to be at the museum told that there was more to Enterprise that could have been by having the refit there, that they acknowledged that it should have gone 7 seasons. We should have seen more of it. So the fact, again, that they did that, just those were great surprises that we're seeing. And just to see the Genesis device again, that was kind of cool there.
That was cool.
And hear the sound effects. Did you guys hear all the tricorder sound effects from Wrath of Khan?
Oh,
that
yeah.
Throughout this season. I mean, just really interesting. What about you, Chris?
The Data stuff. I really didn't think they're bringing back Data. I thought, maybe it's something to do with lore. I thought, okay, maybe I guess they resurrected lore or reactivated him again, and there's going to be some situation where it's in both of their best interest to work together, even though they know he's going to, go bad and mess them over somehow. So when they actually confirmed, or when it was like, oh, it's actually Data, like it's a combination of Data. It's not the same Data from TNG, but it's still a Data. I was like, whoa, I did not think they'd bring him back. I was so happy with it. And it felt organic.
Yeah, I liked how when he said, I'm Data, but I'm also lore. And I'm also
B4.
Was it B3?
B4.
B4. And I'm also soon. I have all these people in me now, which has made him full and whole. And my wife was so happy to see him back again. And she was so sad to see him go. And
I'm so glad they didn't put a bunch of like they told us why he looked more human and aged, and they didn't try to do that de-aging
really
thing
easily. They worked it in just so naturally, so easily that it was okay, cool. Yep.
And also how they had him really overcome lore through goodness. Giving Lore's whole beef was he's jealous of his brother. He didn't get the opportunities Data did. He didn't get the loving care. And here Data is sharing his most prized possessions with him. Beautiful story of that surprised the heck out of me. I was like, this is weird. But then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, he's actually showing his bro love. Like he's giving him these things, and it's having a positive effect for the character as a whole. And
he gave him the things that he enjoyed and made him who he was. Yeah. Especially when he hands him Spot the cat.
Right. That was
just beautiful.
What
am I supposed to do with this thing? Oh my God,
What a great cameo by Spot on season 3 of Star Trek Picard. Probably the 20th cat used, I would imagine.
Yes, exactly.
Surprises. Adina, did I give you a chance?
No, not yet. And I'm glad you guys saved me for last. And I'm glad none of you. I'm glad I'm the one who gets to say this one. The Enterprise D.
Yes, that's the other big one, of course.
Oh my gosh! Like I can't even.
Holy crap!
Did not see that coming. Right? Yeah. Did not see that coming in the least bit. Geordi wins engineer of the century. Yes. He is the best engineer. And again, I say this with deep love for Scotty. Geordi wins as the best engineer in Starfleet. Absolutely. I didn't see that coming. So that was the biggest surprise of any of it for me.
Yeah, that was out of left field. But what's also interesting was they upgraded it to give it the Aztec finish on you. It seemed more metallic than how it was on the original series, or original TNG, where it was more of that. That
it had the
kind of gray white look.
It had that stuff on it, but it just wasn't as pronounced as they do it now.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's got, and I love too that they didn't give it the Generations bridge. That it was the
the classic
right.
TNG and the Elcars. Like, so just go around and give me your numbers. How many times did you rewatch them getting to the ship and also them turning on the bridge?
Mm-hmm.
How
many times?
Just once.
Oh,
but
just
it
once?
was
okay.
And that's just because of a busy life, not because I didn't want to.
I did see it twice. I did watch most of these episodes twice.
Oh, okay.
And in my second one did a little bit of, but not as. Again, I will rewatch more and more and more. But
I will say, when Picard and they step onto the bridge and he just says, emotionally, together and everything. But the thing that I miss most, the carpet. And I thought that was great, because that's always kind of been a joke where you've seen the meme of the stage worker vacuuming the carpeting, and they go, oh, wow, carpeting on the Enterprise. What do you know? And he takes a moment to acknowledge it. And then also when they finally close off the lights and Picard also says, I miss that computer voice.
Mm-hmm.
That was so beautiful.
That was
the fact that they assembled her voice so that she could be right back with us. And also screen credit at the end of the episodes. They gave it to.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
There were so many things thrown into this that next gen fans could really sink their teeth in and smile at and jump off the couch at and get close to the TV. I know my buddy Todd, who you guys are aware of, would pause screens, and there's a point where the starbase is being attacked, and he paused the screen because you can see the names of the things. And he said there were all kinds of names in there that were memorials and references to this and that. And he said it was just, and I can't remember them right now off the top of my head, but he said it was just beautiful. They went that far that the little tiny lettering of what the ships were flying around had references to real life things or people that have worked in Trek or other characters and all that stuff.
USS Drexler.
Yeah, there was USS Ross.
Doug was so proud to see his name
Ross,
up there.
That was really cool.
But even
I
without,
wonder if that was Admiral Ross.
It had to be.
Yeah, it would have to be, right?
But even without pausing, for those of us who are like massive TNG fans, there were just all these like little, even from the very, very, very first scene of episode 1, when they're panning around this ship and you don't know whose ship it is yet, until my first clue was seeing the orchids. I'm like, oh, I know who has orchids. That is Dr. Crusher's orchids. And then you see like the case with, it said Jack Crusher, because remember she got a case of his stuff, like and everything. And then later episodes when they're first in the Daystrom Institute and the crow flies in. And the crow was from when Data was dreaming, like all these things. And what was really interesting is I watched most of this with Frank, who doesn't, he's seen a few episodes of Next Generation with me, but he doesn't know these things. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God, did you see that? Did you see that? And he's like, I don't know what you're seeing. I mean, he enjoyed it, but not at a level of, there's different levels of enjoyment.
I loved like Moriarty, like I thought he was going to somehow be more involved as a bad guy, but it was perfect though. Like, even though at first I was like, oh, I wish we had more of him, but it was perfect. He was actually helping them. He wasn't being evil. He was actually helping
because it
them.
wasn't him. It was Data.
Right.
It was Data. It was Data using his memory.
But what a great, a great way to bring that actor back to that and make us all go, oh, those were some great, super cool. And then also, like, Chris, you must agree with me because you're my fellow Deep Space Nine guy here. The changelings being involved was super cool. I was so excited. I was convinced, though, and I will confess this: I was dead right. I was absolutely right about Worf and Rafi's connection there at the beginning. I was dead wrong with where I thought this series was headed, because I thought we were going to a last episode where Jack was actually possessed by the Pa race, that they'd somehow escaped, gotten in cohorts with the Borg somehow, and that we were going to see Benjamin Sisko show up and save the day in the first episode. That was where I thought this was going.
I had seen that. I heard people speculating on that, and I remember thinking, Like I don't know how I feel about the Power Race coming back, but I would love Cisco to be back, and I thought that'd be really cool. But
I thought for sure
he might have not been available. Who knows?
I don't think he wants to be Captain Cisco anymore. I get the feeling he's not that proud of Trek. I'm not sure.
No, he actually, I've heard him interviewed. He was very proud of the work Deep Space Nine did and how it represented African Americans and him as a father working, in that relationship there. And then the diversity that Deep Space Nine just represented in spades. He was very proud of that. I don't know. There may be other things he wasn't proud of or doesn't. But, also we got to remember, holy surprise with Anton Chekhov.
Yeah.
Oh my!
That took me a minute
about that.
That didn't take me a minute at all. That took me a second, and I was in tears.
I'm like, that's Walter Koenig.
Oh, yes.
It took me a minute to figure out, wait, is this Chekhov? But then I had to go back and be like, no, it's Anton.
It was
Sorry.
It was his voice, but then
it was the actor.
Anton Chekhov. But then did you guys hear the message? The message was a deliberate mimicry of the message from the voyage home.
Oh yeah.
Like that was just like, I'm sitting there like I am not a crier. I'm not a crier, but I was in so many tears. Oh, holy cow.
My wife asked the same question. She goes, is that Chekhov? I said, yeah, but that's the actor. He's reprising his voice.
Yeah,
and I think that was
amazing.
And there was that, like you said, the respect of all the prior series. You get an actor from the original TOS. That was great stuff.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
What threw me off is I thought it was Pavel Chekhov who was president, and then I had to go back. No, it's Anton, his son, and that makes more sense.
When I first heard the voice in my brain, I'm thinking, I wonder, could he be alive at this point? Because remember that at the start of Next Generation, McCoy was still alive and he was like 137. So again, lifespans are longer. So at first I'm like, I guess it's possible. But then once he said my father, and once you see Anton, I'm like, oh, okay. Whatever.
Yeah. I had to go back and then be like, oh, it's Anton. Oh, okay.
What an awesome nod
cool.
to Anton, who played Chekhov in the.
What about that first shot before you get to the ship, and it's like the first image of the TNG intro with the not nebula, I don't know what it is, but with the stars.
Yeah.
That was a whole beautiful sequence.
I thought we were going to get like a TNG intro, and we didn't. I was a little bit sad.
No, I was not sad at all. That was perfect.
Yep.
That was just so perfect. That was so perfect.
So, all right, guys.
Before we get off the surprises, I just want to say, when you're talking about like what you thought it was going to be with the power race and everything, if you had told me at the beginning of the season, oh, by the way, the Borg is going to be the big bad, and everything, I would have been like, really?
Yeah,
more Borg? Are you kidding
me? Me too.
But no, the way they worked it in, oh my, I'm shocked that I'm like really shocked because I think there's no way you would have been able to convince me of that ahead of time.
They made them more terrifying, which is what they had to do. And I was like, at first I was like, oh, again, I was like, okay, we did the Borg. We've done the Borg. We thought, I thought they were peaceful now. I thought they were guardians for us, like what in the world? And,
different Borg.
But to have Alice Krige reprise voice, she wasn't the woman in the makeup though.
No, that was I think that was an animatronic.
Either way,
I don't. There
was an actual woman. I just saw that today. There was an actual woman. But to have Alice Kriege's voice was just great. As sad. Well. I mean, again, another
node to First Contact. There you go. Yeah.
But also really sad. It's a little eerie.
Oh, has she passed?
She passed a few months ago.
I didn't know that.
Alice Krige? Yeah. No, I know the other Borg Queen.
No,
am I mixing up people?
You're mixing up people.
Oh my God, my bad.
Picard, she passed away.
Okay.
That's okay. That's okay.
That's right. Yep.
Oh, because her name also begins with an A. Annie. Her name was Annie.
Yes.
Oh, right.
That's okay. It's okay.
My bad.
I was about ready to cry then.
I'm sorry.
That was sad to lose that actress because she was superb. She was really great. Good actress. So, all right, guys. Who? Speaking of favorite characters, Question number 5. Who ended up being your favorite
Oh.
character for the season? And I think I'm going to have to start with Steve.
Captain Vadic. Her level of evil and style was the type of villain that Star Trek fans needed. She was so well written and acted by Amanda Plummer, and she was the best line of any Star Trek character, because as her life came to an end, and that's got to be the best line ever. And I can't repeat it because we're a family-friendly show, but you know what she said, and it was great, and it was the fitting way for her to end. But even so, when she was on the bridge with all this, Star Trek officers lined up, she's going, Jack. Oh, Jackie, where are you? Are you coming up? Oh, I want you to. She was so good. Oh,
superb.
Mm-hmm.
Every scene she was in was just a joy. She was great. So.
Mm-hmm.
And did you notice the ode to her father, Christopher Plummer, from Star Trek VI, when she spun around in that big old command chair? That had to be a nod. That had to be a nod.
So good. I mean, it's so good. All right, I've said what I said. Go ahead, you guys. You tell me who your favorites were as well.
Oh, this is tough because there's so many good characters, but it's got to be Data, or I'm trying to come up with a name for him, but this new iteration of
we're still calling him Data. That's what they called him. It's still Data.
That's what Geordi was saying, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, I think that's what he's called, but it'd be fun to have a here's what we're talking about. This new Data. There's like a
Data number 20.
Data 20.
Seems like it.
But it was so much fun to have him back and to see the progression of Data with emotion, but it's not just Data with the emotion chip in Generations, but it's him grappling with his feelings and
getting
his sarcasm
from Troy at the end.
That was a lot of fun to be like. I love the fact that they're able to show that, hey, characters can be annoyed at each other, but still love each other, which is not something we really got on TNG, I felt.
Yeah.
So I love that line. I love that ending scene and Riker coming in and being like, oh, he's still Bat, that other word, but you can't say. But he was just so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
Just really well done.
Go ahead, Adina. I hope you don't take mine. You're going to say the whole cast, aren't you?
Well, that's what I want to say. No, I'll give you an answer. And partly, I'm going to give you an answer because we have not talked about this character today at all.
Okay.
I'm going to say my favorite in season 3 was Seven.
Yes, she was
7 was so good.
And her whole journey, like her development was just spot on and amazing. And she's just it's just so amazing in how she kind of held it together and was true to herself while fitting into Starfleet, but not fitting in, but in a way that it worked well. And seeing Shaw talk about her in her performance evaluation at the very end was just so lovely. It was just amazing. And everything that she did was great. Oh,
I was going to say, and putting her as captain of the Enterprise G.
Oh my God, yes. Please,
and they say, go ahead.
Yes.
You got to say your catchphrase. What's it going to be? Engage, make it so. And she's like, and boom, they take us away. That's like
beautiful.
Because save it for the next series.
Save it for the series. Star Trek Legacy, which I hope they pick out.
Please.
So and again, hopefully by the time that this airs, this will probably still be true because it sounds like these decisions aren't getting, made quickly. But I believe that they've said that because they've got Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks, and they've got now the Section 31 movie coming out, that they've got a lot, and these things are expensive to produce. So it sounds like it's not going to be.
The good thing, though, Adina, is that season 3 of Picard broke into the top 10 streaming.
Yeah.
And is the first Trek series to do that. That's huge.
Right.
Absolutely huge. So it will definitely fuel more. And it's amazing that Michelle Yeoh, Academy Award winning actress, is going to come to a Star Trek film That hopefully will be a lot of fun. And I think that's a really neat move by Paramount to do that and release it on their streaming platform that way. I think that's a really smart move. And, you know, we know Discovery is going to end after season 5 unless the fans do this massive write-in, and they did. I don't think it's going to save the show, though. But my favorites for this season is Gates McFadden in portrayal of Dr. Crusher. I love the pump action phaser rifle, which is stupid and ridiculous and so much a waste of time when you're in a fire, you know, a shootout. You don't have time to be pumping a stupid phaser. I mean, come on, that's dumb.
Cool
but it
TV.
was amazing. It was awesome. I want one, you know. But Gates McFadden was just superb. I'm telling you, she deserves an Emmy nomination for her work, as do many of the characters. And I gotta say, I love Data. I love Worf. I love me some Worf. But Jonathan Frakes just, he just, for me, I love the development of his character. For the first time, he's really, you know, he was so career oriented in the Next Gen run. That was the whole thing. He sacrificed so much.
Was he?
And, he started out
you're
being,
right. You're right.
And then he tempered that.
He passed up some captain opportunities. You're right, Chris. But
we pulled out the captain's chair for Riker. He better one of these times. He better sit down.
Okay, you know what I mean. He wasn't pursuing family, right? And so to see this happen and to see the tragedy of losing his son and how that affected him. Frakes just did a phenomenal job acting through this whole series, and he's one of those actors for me too. He's just got that spark, and he had some of the best lines too, like when they're transporting onto the station and Worf, now I'm passive, and he goes, "We're all gonna die." You know, like just some. He's got the comedy timing down too. So McFadden and Frakes were my favorites of the series.
I'm glad what they were able to do with him was allow him to show like a full emotional range.
Right.
And not just keep him in like one steady beat, which is kind of what we mostly had in Next. I mean, as much as I loved the character Riker, he was fairly one emotional level throughout the series. And here we got to see the full range of him, which was great.
There was this one line when they're really in peril, and he turns to Picard and says, "You've killed us all." I mean, that was a powerful scene for him to turn to his best friend and say, "You've killed us all." But what I loved so much was the scene inside the prison cell with him and Troy, and they're just talking like this is a married couple that's gone through a hard time. They've lost a child. They've kind of pulled away. And he just said, what was that line? You know, "I'm just happy to be able to see your face one more time before we die." I mean, it was just their love between the two of them was so well portrayed there. It was very emotional, very well done. Yeah, you're right. He was a joy to see him act again.
I think all the Next Gen actors shined beautifully, and you know, it took forever to get to Troy. Like, really, like I thought maybe she was just going to be, maybe she was in the UK filming and didn't, you know, but everybody had moments where they got to shine. And it was wonderful to see them have that opportunity as people and as the characters we love and felt like that we were part of their family, to see them get this type of send off. I was surprised at how emotional I got throughout the whole season, because I'm like, this is what, I mean, Nemesis made a measly $49 million. It was so bad. Yeah. And it was a terrible, cheesy, uninteresting send off for those characters. And to see this is like the universe just made this right by Star Trek fans. Okay, but I digress. Next question. I don't want to skip any questions now that I know Steve is really a tickler.
These
for
are
not
good
skipping,
questions. These were very good questions, Brian. And we can go to two-parter if we have to talk about this. Okay.
I don't think we will. I don't think we're pretty good. We're pretty good on time. Because, you know, before we hit record, we're always gabbing a lot. So we're good. But so second to last question. did this season live up to your expectations and hopes as a fan? This should be a rather simple question because we've gone over a lot. So maybe this will be our time.
It did way too
Way
much.
exceeded.
I'll say this. Okay, as we said there, Denise Okuda said this was season 8 of TNG, and we could all agree with that. My only shortcoming was the way that they solved the Borg problem with all the kids.
Yeah,
it was one of those. It was truly a Star Trek way where Dr. McCoy synthesizes a drug and they spray everybody or they inject everybody, and we're all okay. Everything cleared up, went away, and it just seemed like, let's just get this out of the way as quickly as possible. And the red door, it was dragged on a little too much. Like it was going to be something really, really, and it just seemed like that was the only thing they kind of dragged constantly through the entire season. But again, there was a payoff as to what was behind the red door. Mm-hmm. And I kept thinking, was that a note back to the red door, or the door that Picard was worried about in his old home when he went there in season 2? Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Steve,
I don't think so.
Steve.
Yeah.
Did you understand the question, my friend?
I know. You said it, but did live up to my expectations. The expectations. The answer is yes, but there was still something short there. Still something short. Yeah.
Well, there's always details, and I would say, that whole, wrapping up the ending, and everything, right? Like it is Star Trek. It is all in that buildup, and it is all in the interaction and learning about the characters. So I'm okay with the fact that yes, they resolved a little quickly. Whatever. Yeah. I'm cool. Right. It does not bother me in the least bit.
Yeah, that's my only criticism as well. But it's like that's just true for most things where the buildup is always there. But like for me, if the show had just ended after the resolution, like okay, everybody's fine, we're good, I would have been more upset. But the wrap up of the series was just so perfect. And my real complaint is that it's over. Yeah. Like I just want
why 10 episodes? Come on, 22, 23. We would have been happier with that.
Can we figure out how to clone Terry Metalis? Because if we can clone Terry, then he can get an Enterprise going. He can get a DS9 going. Right. He's the right person. Right. We have the opportunity here to do that.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know if he's as deep with DS9 and Enterprise as he was with TNG. So maybe, again, he's, I think, the right person for Star Trek Legacy, but that does not, and he's awesome, but that does not mean he's the right for a DS9 Enterprise thing. However, we need the version of Terry Metalis who is. If it isn't Terry Metalis,
like
we do
Jerry?
need...
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Is there a Jerry or something?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
He's a big DS9 fan. We can have him because there's so many opportunities.
This is great. There's so much they could do.
Yeah.
It was so perfect.
But even in the context of Star Trek Legacy, given the timing, they could certainly bring back DS9 characters. And, with DS9 did that. Yeah. You can't do that with Enterprise with Legacy, but you can certainly do.
You could actually have them, reprise characters as as intermixing just little shots or so. I mean, again, the whole scene when they are celebrating, a Frontier Day, you could have had Scott Bakula do and here's the words of Scott Bakula, like they did at the very beginning of Enterprise, where they reprised with Zephyrin Cochrane's character to open. They could have done something like that, so they can still do something like that if they want to with DS9 or Enterprise, or even Voyager,
or maybe just have someone quote the speech that we never got.
Yeah,
we didn't mention this, and I think this is a shame on us.
Shelby?
Well, Shelby, fantastic. She was a cool cameo. But the Enterprise flying into the Borg ship like an X-wing fighter.
Yes.
Flying into the Death Star. When I first
cool.
saw that, I went, oh, come on. And then I went, this is awesome.
Right.
I love every second of this.
It's hokey, but it's cool. It's what we like. Like, who cares that it's hokey?
We've got really some fantastic memes, Grace. This is going to be some of the best meme work coming out of this.
It's nice to see that the Enterprise is maneuverable and they can do more than just going in one direction. I think the closest we ever got to that was in Relics, when it goes to
Yeah, I said, yeah.
I don't know what you call it when they go through the door. Through the Dyson sphere, and that's it. And it's like, it's not like, yes, it's a spaceship. It can be more maneuverable if you, I assume, because it's Star Trek, they should be able to be more maneuverable.
We can talk about the physics of that another time.
And here's the thing: we just learned that it only takes about 6 or 7 people to fly a starship. You don't need a whole crew. Forget about 1,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's what was it?
Well, Search for Spock, we learned that too.
Yeah.
You know, they
fully
could,
automated.
They could,
even what was it? Even a group of Chinese could run it or something.
The other thing I have a question.
Beautiful.
Picard's physical body, which was on the Stark. Was that the name of the? The strike, thank you.
The strike.
Oh,
what happened to it?
Yeah.
Was it destroyed?
Well, I guess now it's destroyed.
Yeah.
It was destroyed with the strike.
You know, I was just, there was no conclusion to that, but it's okay. But I was wondering.
The strike?
Yeah.
They left it when they abandoned the strike. They left the body, so presumably it was destroyed with the strike.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, is it the strike or the strike?
The strike.
Like strike, right?
Strike.
It's the strike, right?
The strike. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not pronouncing it right.
Yeah. So let's get that right, everybody.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
It's not data.
I know.
It's
data.
Stop it. It's not.
Wait a minute. Do I hear the music from?
Strike.
Do I hear Africa being played in the background? What's going on now?
All right, moving right along. That's our hint to wrap this up a little bit. $1 million question. My answer is yes. I believe this was the single best season of Star Trek ever. I think to wrap up this episode, we need. I know this is going to be hard, Adina, but I need a yes, a no, or a maybe. Okay.
Can I say yes, but?
That wasn't one of the. That wasn't one of.
No, you can't.
Yes, you can. Of course, you can.
Here's the yes, but when we say the single best season of Trek ever, was this the single best season of Trek ever? You can't compare. I don't think you can. It's fair to compare this kind of 10 episode arc with, like, when we go back to Next Generation, where you had a 20 something episode individual things, and in later seasons, sort of a minor arc through. Like, you can't really compare that. That's not fair. Now, for modern Trek,
okay,
and when I say modern Trek, I'm thinking of Disco, Lower Deck, Strange New Worlds. So far, this is the best season of anything modern. Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, Strange New World still has an opportunity to do things. We don't know what Discovery season 5 is going to look like, and of course, if they do other new things, there can then still be new stuff. But yes, this is the best out of all the modern stuff.
Okay, that's fair.
Absolutely.
Mr. Merkin.
Sorry, I didn't bring any kilos of gold for that $1 million, but but the point was, it is just like what Adina said. It was too short, so it's hard to compare it to, where you have the whole season to do a story arc, and I'm sorry, but I just love Enterprise so much. Season 4 is still my favorite season,
Sure.
only except for the last episode, which now, because of the NX-01 refit, we know it was a false story, the last episode of Enterprise. But this was for like, do you want a really intense cup of coffee? That's what we had here, rather than just having a cup of coffee. It was good.
Yeah. All right, Chris.
Anybody else?
I'm in the same boat as Steve. I would say it was amazing, but it's not the best season of Trek ever.
Okay. Wow.
Because you can't compare.
Are you serious or are you kidding?
No, I'm laughing because I want to give a whole spiel about why I don't think it isn't to go on about season 6 of DS9. But I figured that's going to be too long. But I just think that season they did such a great job with all their storylines, and I'll leave it at that. Still a really amazing season, but not the best ever.
Okay, this is interesting because Chris, as a Deep Space Nine guy, I think 6 of Deep Space Nine was my all-time favorite. Until this just has enough of the loves and feelings for me that I don't think I've enjoyed Trek this much. And so that, and I, we can agree to disagree in that it's harder to compare. I still can in the way I think about it, but the fact is, we all had fun,
without a doubt.
Oh yeah,
we all got
much fun.
We all got to talk about Trek excitedly, and couldn't wait to message each other about, did you watch it yet? Did you watch it yet?
Shut up, don't talk, don't say anything. I haven't watched it yet. You guys, you guys got to see it because you're 3 hours ahead of me on the East Coast. Not fair, you know?
And so it was just fun.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, we talk about modern Trek, and I think that is a fair, really fair comparison, Adina, to say it's harder to compare because the seasons were longer and they were aimed at different things than they are now. You know, we talk about how JJ saved Trek with the films and revitalized everything. I think that this season of Picard in particular has assured us of much more Star Trek.
Yeah.
I think you're right about
I think
that.
even more than Discovery,
Absolutely.
even more than Lower Decks and Prodigy and Strange New Worlds, which I'm psyched about the new season of Strange New Worlds. Strange New Worlds was phenomenal and really good. But I think this season of Picard has just absolutely hit it out of the ballpark. We like the Okuda said, we are living in the golden age of Trek.
And I will say this, my dear sweet wife, who does not as deeply involved in Star Trek as I am, look forward to every Thursday night to watch Picard. And she would always say, this is the best crew. That's how.
Yes.
And again, I just think that because it was so well done, that anyone who watched TNG came away going, yeah, that's the way you ended. Having them playing cards like they should have done. Beautiful.
And the Venus joke.
Yeah.
Which we can't even repeat. But
well, we can say as much as he said.
Yeah.
There once was a woman from Venus.
Oh, come on, Data. You know, yeah. Well, thank you guys for being. Thank you guys. I'm going to try to wrap this up. Thank you guys for being a part of our listening audience. We hope that you've had a great time listening and feeling like you were a part of the conversation as well. Maybe you even yelled at us a few times during this episode, and we would love to hear that you did, actually. So feel free to email us at the Big Sci-Fi Podcast at gmail.com to let us know what you think. You can also let us know your thoughts by joining our super cool Facebook group, following us on Instagram and Twitter, and also by subscribing to our YouTube page for video content. Like I said at the beginning, we're now a part of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. You can check us out and all the other amazing podcasts at trekgeeks.com. Until next time, treat each other well. And to quote the great Captain Kirk from Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home, everybody remember where we parked so you can be sure to catch the next exciting episode of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast.